the insurance company would love to be so involved with their mobile that people check them 100 times a day. And of course, nobody is interested in financial, banking, or insurance app. But one company has a solution for that, and that is Meniga. And Isabel, how can insurance companies make apps which are checked 10 times a day? How can they ever get to that point?
So the idea is that you need to give customers an excuse to come back to the app, like you were saying. And it's very difficult to get people excited about their finances, but we have developed a technology that, based on their transactional data, enriching their transactional data, providing them with insights and mixing them with, let's say, gamification components, gives them not only an excuse, but actually a reason to come back.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. First, I mean, you have all the transaction data. You have a feed, right? You have a transaction feed, but you make the transaction feed look really nice and interesting. How does that work?
So we not only make the design appealing, it's about what you put in there. So the first thing that you will see is, of course, your recent transactions, but then we also mix them with personalized insights for you. And then, this challenges.
Yeah, but I see the transaction come, and then I see my October report. I can immediately get a nice little graph, and then I click on it, and I can get more insight in it. And then what do you do to make that? That is already nice. That's much nicer than the normal banks have an app, because they are very strict. But you have the Facebook, timeline approach. What kind of insights do you give me?
So it depends. Let's say that you're maybe spending way too much on coffee compared to other people that spend a lot on coffee.
That's the insights you're first going to give me.
That is the first insight. But then the idea is not just insights, it's actionable insights, because that's how we give you value. We're not just telling you, hey, maybe you're spending too much. We're trying to help you to spend a little bit less on coffee. So maybe, your financial institution wants to position a savings product. So why don't you put those 10 additional euros every month in a savings product?
So you're looking at different expenditure, like energy or like clothes, and then saying, hey, you spend more than the average person, or what about a challenge to spend a little bit less on clothes and that kind of stuff?
Precisely, and then we take it to another level, because that is just the insights. But what about our challenges module? So we're going to get you excited, just like you do with the 10,000 steps that we were talking about beforehand, about your finances. So for instance, we have this new idea of every time your football team scores or wins a match, put 10 euros on the saving pot. So these are the things that we're doing so that every financial institution can personalize the experience for you.
And how smart are you in looking at my transaction feed and then making sure that these are clothes, this is energy, this is this. Are you smart in that? Do you have an incredible experience to guess that right? Because normally these companies, they do a bad job into making dashboards in that respect?
To be completely fair, you're spot on. This is the most important part of any, let's say, PFM or personal finance management implementation. You need to start understanding and categorizing the data right. And we have been for nearly 10 years in the market doing this, and we can say proudly that we're the best at doing this.
They're so modest. They're the best in doing that. Okay, let's talk about the company. How many people in the company?
So we're about 120 today, and we've got offices. So we started off in Iceland. We're originally an Icelandic business.
Very Icelandic, yeah.
More Spanish, but I'll take that as a compliment. We're headquartered in London, and we also have offices in Sweden and in Poland, in Warsaw.
And which countries are you operating your service at the moment?
Internationally. So most of our customers today are based in Europe. Because of the open banking and the PSD2 opportunity, it has opened many doors. But we're also expanding.
Will open many doors. There's not too many countries which have it operational yet. Yeah. UK maybe a little bit.
Yeah, and even Australia. Australia's regulation, it's kind of like a copycat of the UK one. So who knows? Hopefully that brings us more opportunity.
Open banking will make it much easier for you to get to the system. But you work as a service for the banks, right? To make their apps, you work inside the apps, or do you have work on API basis, or do you make the complete app and integrate the bank's stuff?
So we can do all. Our white label software accommodates for whomever's and wherever's targets and objectives. So if a bank wants to embed our technology using our APIs, that can be done, and that's the most typical way to work with us. Yep. But we also have our own apps for iOS and Android that customers can take, and they can customize and launch to market in as little as 3.5 months. So it really depends on the strategy and on their digital strategy of each of our customers.
Okay. Give me a couple of customers which are using your product now.
Okay, so the ones that we named here today, for instance, European-based, UniCredit, Santander, Commerzbank. In the insurance, we would have Momentum in South Africa, and Another one that we recently launched was Tangerine in Canada, that has a very appealing, if my basketball team scores blah blah blah, then put this money aside. They're really, really innovative. So each customer is unique.
We are all so unique. That's really true. So it doesn't take a long time to implement. You were saying 2.5, 3 months or something like this possible if the other side is working. Yeah.
Again, a very, very good point. But it depends. So if they want to take our front end components and just launch to market, we're thinking 3.5 months. If it's an on-prem implementation, it's a bit longer, and it would look between 6 and 8 months. But again, it depends on the customer.
Yeah. And if you look at the business model, I mean, you have startup costs but I mean, in the end, how much euro per customer per month should you think about if you want to have this kind of service integrated in your product?
We don't normally work on that type of business model. So we work with a perpetual licensing model most of the times.
Oh, how beautifully old-fashioned. And a licensing model, you know, unlimited, and then a contract to do updates or something like that.
Yeah, it has licensing, so it has tiers based on number.
It's not a service.
It's not very innovative, that is true, but you have to bear in mind that we work
10 years old.
We work with financial institutions, so that's what typically what they would explore. But we also have a SaaS offering, though this is a little bit more new, and this is in conversations, but at the end, everybody ends up in the license model.
Yeah. Okay. And is it like pennies? Pennies or cents or per person per year if you look at the end cost for your customers?
It depends. It depends on the modules that are licensed. It depends on the number of users. It depends on many things.
How are you funded?
VC.
Yeah. How much money did you raise?
That I would have to check because I don't know at the top of my head. I don't even know the number for the last round. That's really bad. But
okay, guys. What's your sales? What's your yearly annual sales?
I can't tell you that.
Okay. See, the important questions he doesn't want to answer, so we'll cut that out. Okay, yeah. So, what are you looking for here in DIA? What kind of customers are you looking for?
So, most of our customers are classic banks. So we're trying to take a step further. As I said, we work with Momentum in South Africa, and it's very interesting to see insurance companies trying to have a more compelling proposition to the end user. So that's kind of like what we're trying to get here. We're trying to get insurance companies.
Do a couple of pilots in Europe to basically start looking at your technology, see how the marriage works.
Well, ideally more than a pilot, but you know, if that's what we get, then sure, that would be amazing.
Okay. How is DIA for you?
It's been great so far. We were presenting our demo earlier today, and the feedback has been amazing. And the venue, I mean, it's just fantastic.
Okay. From Iceland, from Spain, from all over Europe, make your app more appealing with Meniga.
Thank you so much.